ones we hold close and quiet in our hearts. The stories that bring us joy and fulfillment, and the stories that break us open. The stories that change and grow with us, and the stories we outgrow and leave behind. Every one of you carries a lifetime of stories every time you enter this space. I've recently returned from Hucklow Summer School. I'll say more about this in the newsletter and future services, but needless to say, it was a week in the beautiful hills of Derbyshire with fellow Unitarians sharing together. It is a true wonder. There were workshops, worship, beautiful food, swimming, of course, there was swimming, laughter, a lot of teas, and some silliness. I'm selling it to you, I dearly hope. It will be back next year in August. The theme for the week of summer school was Real Lives, telling the truth of our lived experience. Theme talks are available online, and I encourage you, when you have a moment, to take a listen. They include stories from across the world, including a poem written after the Grenfell Tower fire. And it also included our stories. In our small groups, we explored what it was like to be human, what it was like to carry the stories that make part of us. But we all came away from summer school thinking, yeah, we have these stories. They make part of our lived experience, and it's important that we hear them. Our first reading today is called Holding Space for Truth to Bloom by Lisa Kemper. Somebody before the service asked me, what is this holding space? So I'm hoping by the end of the service it will make some sense. So these are words by Lisa Kemper. I have come to believe over and over again that what is most important to me must be spoken, made verbal or shared, even at the risk of it bruised or being misunderstood. There is a moment, she says, a moment when all eyes turn to you, whether you're the minister, the lawyer, the teacher, the surgeon, the plumber, the person who's trying to fit loads of wires together and make this service happen. But nobody forgets the first time, the first argument that you defend in court, the first class, your first speech. There is a moment after all that training and practice when we have to move out of the theory and put what we've studied into action. So Lisa talks about the wee hours of the morning when it was dark and still, and she was awakened by her bleep. It was the very first pager bleep of my first overnight on call as a hospital chaplain. I composed myself quickly and made my way to the neonatal intensive care unit. 2 premature-born twin girls had been there for several months. One of them had taken a turn and was not expected to survive the night. There were people rushing backwards and forwards everywhere. All I could do was watch and pray. I had no medical expertise, and the family was tangled in that faraway place of shock and grief. After a while, the parents handed their little girl back to the nurse who reverently placed her back in the bassinet and moved her over to her sister's side. They should be together, she said. Slowly, everybody turned to me. It was silent, save the distant beep and the trills of medical machinery. Lisa goes on to say, someone whispered to me, "Can you pray?" All eyes turned to me. I had no earthly clue what to say. It was a profound, gut-level panic. The knowledge that nothing I could say could alleviate the indescribable wrench of losing a child, a patient, and a sibling. There is a moment, and it was in that moment when I learned to tell the truth. A space opened in my heart, and the light of truth shone in. God, we are lost, I prayed. I couldn't fix it. I couldn't bring her back. I couldn't do anything but name the pain and hold the space for the pain to be felt. I remember nothing else that night. And that moment has remained the foundation of my ministry. To name the truth of what is happening in that moment and to courageously be in the space. To speak the truth as best I understand it. Words from Lisa Kemper about her first night as a hospital chaplain and the simplicity and the difficulty of holding space. We sing our second hymn this morning, number 35 from the Purple Book, and it's entitled Find a Stillness. I have a friend who's called Sarah. She isn't called Sarah, but I'm trying to at least not break her anonymity. I have a friend called Sarah. And she has a little one who's about 3. I don't know anything about children who are 3 and what they do and how difficult they are. I play a few games with her, sing a few songs, and then disappear and leave her to the carnage. She told me that the other day. It's all right for you. She called me the other day. She'd had a week of struggle. For those of you who have children or have had children, you can probably put yourself in their shoes. And if you haven't, I still believe you can put yourself in those shoes in terms of having a difficult week with somebody or something, or even a difficult week with yourself. It seemed like the odds were stacked against her. Her small child was being defiant. Despite having told her where the potty was and where the toilet is, no. She decided that weeing in front of her mum was much more fun. And you can imagine after days and days of that, she was starting to pull her hair out. She was also having a difficult time at work. The union had become involved with a difficult case, and she felt like she wasn't being heard. On top of that, the car had broken down. Pay had been late due to a breakdown of computers moving money from one where to the other. You can see where this is going. And she rang me. Normally, she's really an upbeat person. I said, "Oh, hi, Sarah, how are you?" And the whole lot came tumbling out. I'm wondering whether you feel when somebody talks like that, there's this real itchy desire to want to try and fix it, offer a solution. You could just do this. She, in that moment, was able to say to me, "I don't need you to fix it. I just need you to listen and send me some love." Sometimes people are able to ask for what they need. And sometimes they're not, and sometimes they don't even know. In this situation, I think holding space was just keeping my mouth shut and my ears open and sending her the love that she had asked for. And sometimes we don't do that perfectly. Twice I was told to be quiet. Don't, just listen. But we do our best. We do our best to sit with our partners, our sisters, our brothers, our friends, our colleagues, for those that we've never met before, to sit and be in compassion with however they are. So I invite us all to sit for a few moments. Do get yourself as comfortable as you can on a seat. Or if you wish to crawl around, that's totally fine. Small people and large people. And just take a moment to come into the presence of what is divine for you. What stills your mind and your soul, the busyness in your brain. And just breathe. And I invite you to take a moment to think about a time when somebody has held space for you, has sat with you, has cheered you on from the sidelines, has taken time out of their day to help you sort through the multitude of problems and washing daily tasks. Who's maybe prayed with you, has maybe given you that silent encouragement of, you can do this. This may take you back to when you were a child. You may have had a teacher or a fellow little friend that would squeeze your hand when you felt afraid. It may have been just that knowing that somebody else was gunning for you in that moment, even though they may have been miles and miles away. It may have been in the therapist room, somebody giving you the space to speak your truth. Wherever this memory comes from, we give thanks for these people who have held us in joyful and difficult, confusing moments. And that's somebody holding space from afar through the web of bleeps. Divine Spirit, God of all love, we give thanks for this time in reflection together, for the memories that have come to the fore. We give thanks for these people in our lives. Blessed be, and Amen. We'll take a little moment to listen to a piece of music that Stuart's going to play for us.
and low. 7 years they'll melt like snow, squaring the truth you face. Do you have what it takes to be free? You resolve and you wait. From relief you're struck with pain. Once again you doubt. Did you love him enough? Or are you just giving up? But you know, and you know that your heart won't let go. And you know that the only way out is through. And you know, but your heart won't let you. I'll be your strength, and I'll be holding space for you. I'll be holding space for you. May you walk on me, but say goodbye, release your guilt. Morning, but you long since lost. Will you act out of love, and will you rise up above? Hope you will, 'cause you know, but your heart won't let go. And you know that the only way out is through. And you know, but your heart won't let you. I'll be your strength, and I'll be holding space for you, for you, for you. When you know, but your heart won't let go. When you know that the only way out is through. When you know, but your heart won't let you. I'll be your strength, and I'll be holding space for you. I'll be holding space for you. So let go.
So what is this holding space? What does that even mean? Is it when we walk alongside a person or a group on a journey? We walk alongside them. Is it about a willingness to sit with the loss, with the struggle, with the uncertainty, the anticipation, all of the complexity of what it means to be human without trying to change it? Does holding space mean that we stay and we stay and we stay and ignore what we need to do? Do we, when we sit with someone else, have those awkward feelings? God, I wish they wouldn't carry on talking. They've said this time and time again. Sometimes we may just want to run away. Sometimes we do. What can help us to sit in the uncomfortability of just being there for somebody else? Whether it's someone having a bit of a rant about the fact that the bus has gone the wrong way round because the whatever. Or they're sitting with you going, I don't understand this God thing. Or, who am I, where am I going? Or, I don't think I'm a particularly great mum, dad, sister, brother, friend. I think holding space is a gift that we can give and receive again and again throughout our lives. Sometimes we do it really well. Sometimes it requires so much of us. Sometimes we fail. Sometimes it's about a simple phone call. And sometimes it is about sitting with somebody for many, many, many hours. We all hold space for each other in different ways at this church. The gift of a cup of tea and a biscuit. Of sitting beside somebody after worship who's struggling with something that we may never have known about until that moment. We all hold space here in this service this morning. If you weren't here, there would be no service, and there would be no feeling of community. So I don't think it's some kind of pompous thing that you need to be trained for. I think it's about just being in the moment with the person that is in front of you. And it's also about holding space for yourself. I remember when my mum was struggling, she had dementia. I was at that point where I had no idea what to do. Visiting her was tricky. I'm wondering whether some of you also may be in that situation or have experienced that situation. Can you hold her hand and stroke her face today when you visit? A friend of mine suggested. I did it. And I watch other people in this congregation who struggle with their difficulties of their own mental health, their partners and their children. And they hold that with such grace and compassion. Doesn't take a minister to tell you that. You do it every day. In that first reading, we could maybe feel that sense of panic. What do I say? What do I do? You dig deep. And somewhere, some words come. And if they don't, they may just be words of, I really don't know what to do right now, but I am here for you. No big gestures are required. When we have new members who walk through the door, I think it always takes huge courage to walk through any door, but especially a church door. Can we just allow those people to be in this space, safe in the knowledge that as a community, we hold each and every one of us? Erica Hewitt, who is a UUA minister in America, she talked about somebody who held space for her when she went to her local gym. She went with a narrow purpose, to be able to walk up and down the stairs without panting. She accomplished that goal. And someone said, well, how come you haven't left? She said, I'm beginning to grasp the depth of that community and to make new friends. And as I have recovered, I can help somebody else. I can cheer them from the sidelines when they're panting. Today, service doesn't just happen. There's a lot of little fairies that scurry around in the morning and help to make this space somewhere that we can sit and be. Pianists and cleaners, techists, if that's a word, is now. People who buy flowers, people who think about the tiny little things. And then there's us who come, who make this community a joyful and eclectic mix. In your hymn book, hopefully, if I've done it correctly, there should be a little luggage label. I do these things for people who are new. Occasionally I do these strange things and everyone goes, oh, here's Jennifer with her labels and her pens and so forth. I invite you. Oh, there isn't one. Oh, yes, there is. There, on the floor. Ooh. It's not obligatory. If this doesn't sing to you, don't worry. Just sit and have a nice time. But what I invite you to do on your luggage label is to write something that you would like this church to hold for you. If it's not something that you want to be read out loud, keep that label to yourself. If you would like it to be shared, place it in the bowl, and I will do my best to read all of them. So just take a moment Have you all got a pen? Hopefully you have. If you haven't, wave at me and I'll bring you a pen. I'm just asking you to think about something that you would like this collective church to hold for you. It may be a request or a prayer. I'll leave it to your imagination and your creativity. If you would like it to be heard, please place it in the bowl. If you want it close to your heart, then keep it with you. We'll just take a couple of minutes just to do that in silence. Firstly, we give thanks to Kat, our administrator, who keeps so many things, and we found these this morning. Thank you, Kat. Divine Spirit, God of all love, we come here this morning with these requests and prayers, and may we hold the space to hear them. A place to share the goodwill of God, to recognize together something greater than ourselves in unity. I pray that we can release ourselves from the binds that hundreds of years of patriarchal violence and white Western supremacy has placed around our wild, free, animist hearts. That this church can be a place where we courageously experiment with new and old ways of sacred community and service. May we return to the uninhibited and unafraid remnants of our divine beings. I am grateful for ideas the Minister on People in the Church expresses that will help improve my life. Prayer to hold my uncertainty and fear of the future. To take our spiritual journey outside of our sacred space, on the hills and the beach and the woods. To be able to hold space for my sister, irrespective of her mental state, in the same way she once held space for me when I needed it most. A prayer to please hold me when I miss the mark. A prayer for acceptance. For a space to feel a part of a spiritual community. The beautiful flowers, sunflowers and silence. Nature in silence speaks. This space. Blessings to all of these this morning, and those that have been held close to each of your hearts, those writings that you hold. We also hold them in this bowl. We ask that we hear all of these requests and do our best to honor them each and every day. Amen. We sing our last hymn this morning, 193 in the Purple Book, We Laugh, We Cry. Most of all, we need strength, remember where we are, and we believe in life and in the strength of love.
dedicate our mountains and hills to the Spirit of the Child. We believe in life and in the strength of love, and we have found the time to be together. And with the grace of age, we share the wonder of youth, and we believe that growing answer. Lives are full of wonder and our time very brief. The death of one amongst us is all with pain and grief. As we live, so shall we die, and when our lives are done, and these future friends live in God and love, and we believe in strength of love, and we have found a place to be together. We have the right, we have the gift to give, and it's within our peace and answer. We sing hymns and houses to the questions of His Son. We seek to love and answer all the ways of human strife. We search for truth in piety and blessed peace of mind. Come together, linked with this of what we find. And we believe in life and in the strength of love, and we have found the joy to be together. And in our search for peace, leading the fiery sea, even to rest.
God of many names and sometimes by no name at all, surround us with love and compassion, comfort and strength. Remind us that there is no place we can go that you have not already been. May we speak your truth when we are called. When we hold space well, we serve the liberation and sovereignty of all people. Amen and blessed be.